Who would you rather be? Somebody that saved $1 million for retirement and they're healthy, passionate, and engaged for tomorrow? Or somebody that saved $10 million, but they're bored, lethargic, and depressed, right? I think we all want to be the first person. And frankly, we want to have the bank account of the second person, right? But unfortunately, autopilot in retirement, let me tell you what it gets you. The average retiree, average person over 65 that's retired, spends over 4.5 hours a day watching television. That's over 30 hours a week. I don't know about you, but that's not what I signed up for in retirement. And so today's video is to help you tilt the odds in your favor so you can have a passionate retirement. They have a saying in Texas. I'm not from Texas, but I love this saying. You know, they say that somebody is all hat, but no cattle. And what you don't want to be is all money and no passion in retirement. And if you stay to the end, I'm going to share with you a story about a very successful person that unfortunately was all hat and no cattle, or really in this case, all money and no passion, and you don't want to be there. Okay, so let's talk about some ways that we can avoid that and we can have a better retirement for ourselves. And the first one starts with just planning, right? Thinking about, I talk a lot about the importance of having a financial plan, right? I'm a fee-only financial planner. But a financial plan is, as its name implies, all about the financial side of things. I think you also need to have a retirement plan that's outside of the financial aspects of things. How do you want to spend your time? What are you going to do to be engaged and passionate? And I think coming up with a good retirement plan involves about 100 hours of reflective work. And frankly, I'd rather spend 100 hours doing some homework. I know that sounds like a lot, but what would you rather do? Spend 100 hours on this reflective homework, or spend 100 months being bored your first decade of retirement, right? I'd rather spend the 100 hours. So one of the exercises, one of the suggestions I have for you here is there's a great book by an author called Arthur Brooks, and his book is called From Strength to Strength. And it really talks about this transition from from work identity into retirement identity. And it's really, really important. You know, so many of us, we're sprinting to the finish line, we're working hard, we're excited to get there. But then what happens when you get to the finish line for your work identity, but the start line for your retirement identity, right? And so I think this book will get you started on that journey. I think another exercise that can be super helpful, and I'll put it in the show notes, is an exercise that Tim Ferriss made famous, right? We all think of this term called goal setting, right? We set goals for ourselves and hopefully we accomplish those goals. And Tim came up with something that he calls fear setting. So we look at our fears and what we can do to go after the things that we'd like to do, but maybe we're a little fearful to do, and what we can do to mitigate those risks. So instead of goal setting, he does what he calls fear setting. And Tim says he does this a couple times a year. I can tell you I try to do it once a quarter. Super, super helpful. So if you just Google fear setting or fear setting TEDx, fear setting Tim Ferriss, it's a TEDx talk that Tim gives. And also I'll link, I did a video on that as well, and I'll link to it here for you. So hopefully you find that helpful. And the whole idea is come up with a plan, right? You're not going to have everything perfect day one, but come up with a plan that, you know what, this gets you in the ballpark. This gets you moving forward. This starts you off on the correct foot for your retirement, okay? So that's item number one. Item number two is health, right? It's nice to be able to retire, but boy, it's really hard to enjoy your retirement if really job number one is going to doctors and hospital visits all the time. And I know some of my viewers are in that situation, right? Unfortunately, maybe you've had a heart attack or you've had a cancer diagnosis or something like that. And you have to do what you have to do, right? But do what you can to stay as healthy as you can. If you've been dealt a bad deck of cards and you have some health issues already, you know, I wish you all the best in doing what you can to be as healthy as you can and getting back as much of that health as possible. And if you're already healthy, boy, really guard that ferociously. Do everything that you can. There's 2 books that I'm going to recommend. The first book, regular viewers of the channel know that I'm vegan. So the first book is a book that was one of the things that convinced me to be vegan. And I'm not sharing this book because I think you should be vegan. Frankly, I'm sharing this book because the second book is kind of the anti-vegan book, but they're both very good and they're both very popular. The first book is called How Not to Die by a physician named Dr. Michael Greger, G-R-E-G-O-R. Again, it's a book I read, and Dr. Greger is kind of my source of truth for my health. But I know a lot of people also like the book called Outlive by Peter Attia, A-T-I-L-L-A, also a physician. And both of them just talk about the importance of nutrition, the importance of staying physically fit. So whichever book is right for you, I encourage you to read it. Okay, and the third one here, and stick with me because after this I'm going to share the story about the guy that from a retirement standpoint was all hat and no cattle. Okay, but the third one, and super important, is purpose, right? What's your purpose going to be in retirement? Because, you know, you have to have something that you're passionate about. You have to have something that gives you purpose in life, and for some of us that means giving back. Actually, for a lot of us it means giving back and doing something to leave your mark on the world, right? In many ways, if you think about it from a high level standpoint, you know, we're here on earth, right? Some of us have chosen to raise children. That's part of our role, but it's also to, you know, support and be with people that you love, and in some way, in the way that matters to you, to leave a mark on the world, whatever that is for you, right? Because this story of this person that was all hat and no cattle, this is a Fortune 100 CEO that really was sprinting to the finish line, was super excited to be retired. And let me read the quote that I had. He pounds the table. He's doing an interview with somebody that's a retirement specialist. And he's pounding the table because he's not happy with his retirement. And he pounds the table and he says, this is solid, talking about the table. What I have is not solid. And he's talking, what I have is not solid. He's saying, what I have is not solid. And he's talking about his retirement life. His retirement life is not solid. And then he goes on to say, I have all the money in the world. I can do whatever I want, but I don't feel powerful. And then he goes on to say, I had not even thought about what life would be like in retirement. So don't be like that. Don't be all hat, no cattle. Don't be all money, no passion. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, I think you'll find this video helpful here that talks about average income in retirement, and this video down here that talks about 5 reasons to retire as soon as you can. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.